It's interesting too, and who determines what they are? You're so knowledgeable that you'd be able to know just from a few little bits and pieces what the number of the person would be.
No, the person determines it for themselves. And the way that you determine it is that you begin to explore. I mean, if I were with you and I were going to do that, I'd just start asking you a series of pretty open-ended questions. And what we would be looking for was sort of what fundamentally motivated you. Mm-hmm. And we would come to some discovery around that together, and then hopefully to some resonance. And if you don't know the thing, I would suggest, you know, given how you answered the question, you might want to look into this particular point or these one or two points, mm-hmm. and then you could discover more for yourself.
Well, I'll make my determination. I'll tell you what number I am. Let's go on to number 2.
2 is called the giver. And the giver is someone who knows other people's needs. So, and basically says, I will take care of your needs. In fact, I can take care of them in some ways better than you can take care of them. So the blessing there is you have someone who is really attuned to taking care of needs, which can be a wonderful gift in the world. If you think of Mother Teresa, who sounds through her writings like she's a 2, she's essentially giving. The downside, the difficulty is that you're doing it in order, I mean, on some level to get something back, which is a kind of approval, or the work is around pride. Pride is about, in a sense, becoming indispensable. If I take care of your needs, then you're going to need me to be there. And so I will become your dream, in a sense. And the range there is anything from like Elizabeth Taylor to Mother Teresa, all of whom are motivated by the same thing. And if you listen to Mother Teresa's writing, she talks about her relationship with God in a way of saying, you know, whenever I work with any of the lepers in my leper colony, I see the face of God in them, and I'm a very jealous lover. So there's something about her specialness in taking care of needs. But Elizabeth Taylor, you know, she says, you know, I'll become your fantasy, and sort of like I will become what you want me to be so that you will love me, and then that can get old quickly too for her. So there's a great range there.
My goodness. Let's go to 3. We only have a minute for 3.
3 is called the performer, and the performer is someone who is interested in accomplishment and doing and performing in both senses of the word. I will put on a performance to perform, to make something happen. So the blessing is that these are the people who build things. They build the world. They have goals and they have tasks, and they say, whatever it takes to succeed, I'm going to succeed in a certain sense. And so, you know, you have, even in terms of just the personality, you have people who are getting an awful lot done.
The achievers.
They're real achievers.
Very success-oriented.
Very success-oriented, and very oriented towards being seen as being successful. So that's what distinguishes them from the perfectionist. The perfectionist wants to do it right. The performer wants to be successful at it.
And they want to be recognized for their achievement.
For their achievement, yes. So, I mean, the archetype of Madison Avenue is very much a performer archetype, right? Because we want to look successful, we want to build success, and so it's. But JFK, I mean, is another, I think, a wonderful example of a performer, someone who says, you know, I want to be seen for my achievements in a certain way. And
boy, this is interesting.
Well, I'm glad you think
it's
so.
It's very interesting. We just have to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a few seconds, so stay with us. Welcome back. My guest is Dr. Andrew Hahn, and today we're talking about the Enneagram, a very powerful tool for understanding yourself and others. And we were on number 3, so now let's go to number 4.
Okay, number 4 is called the tragic romantic. The tragic romantic, basically the story is the story of the tragic romantic poets. It's a story of yearning, longing for what's distant and sort of what's in your current field, or what's present or right here, right now may not look so attractive. So it's like there's, you know, something, truth is beauty and beauty is truth, and it's out there somewhere, and I'll keep searching for it. So it's a point around great intensity, and it's a very creative point because it's a heart-longing point. So a lot of artists tend to be tragic romantics. You can hear it in their songs, crying over Roy Orbison. I mean, I don't know if he is, but you know, there's something, I had it and I lost it, and when I, you know, so that's the basic story, and you have people who are looking for a lot of emotional intensity.
Or Cyrano de Bergerac. He could have been a 4.
He may have been. James Dean. Probably James Dean was.
James Dean, yeah, that would be, yeah, definitely. He would be a 4, wouldn't he?
Yeah, or a lot of the women singers.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear it in their music.
Yeah.
The longing, the intensity, the
tragic romance.
Right, it's wet, and the tragic, right.
Yeah. Oh well, let's go on to 5.
5's called the observer, and the observer is someone who observes whatever it is that they want to observe. So it's a point of sort of standing above things and analyzing it in a very rational kind of way. And so many great scientists are 5s. They happen to be 5s. If you saw the movie Awakenings, the scientist there clearly who would just spend 7 years and just really sort of dissect something in a very sort of cognitive way. But also many actors and actresses are 5s because the way they write about things, they talk about sort of observing things and then seeing what was going on and then becoming that, but from a place of observation. I think Meryl Streep might be an example of that. So the blessings are someone who can really just sort of stand above things and take a rational point of view and not get sort of so pulled. But the blessing is also the difficulty because it becomes hard to sort of be really expressive and really open.
So their story is one of detachment or
it's one of
removal?
You're right, and the passion is called avarice. And avarice is about, in a sense, building a certain kind of wall around yourself, and the work becomes becoming more engaged and reaching out.
So their work would have to be one of trying to become much more involved then?
Becoming more involved, yes.
Lest they go too far away, huh?
Exactly, into their private worlds.
Yes. So 6.
6 is called the devil's advocate, or now my teacher calls it the trooper. Devil's advocate is someone who basically lives with fear and doubt. So the blessings of someone who lives with fear and doubt is that they can see, they can like read between the lines. So everyone is saying, you know, let's go forward on this project, and they say, wait a second, we should think about this and this and this and this and this, which can be a wonderful thing to have. The difficulty is sort of like being stuck in a certain kind of paranoia. So the blessing is, you can see that it's sort of like they both run together, the blessing and the difficulties run together. And examples would be like Woody Allen, if you think of someone who sort of cowers, or Sigmund Freud, I believe, is also a 6. I mean, if you build a whole theory, you build a whole psychoanalytic theory on, you know, someone is going to cut your balls off, and, you know, it's like, yeah, watch, you know, where's it going to come from? Yeah, 'cause you have these wishes, and you know your father knows it. So it's a theory based on fear. So it's interesting, again, to see the wide range of what's possible there.
And so now we go into 7.
Right. 7 is called the epicure. And the epicure is someone who essentially wants pleasant options. And it's a very mental point, so it's someone who can see all of the connections. It's sort of a synthetic Renaissance thinker. And the high side of that is you have someone who is always creating pleasant options and seeing all the possibilities and the wonderful possibilities. And the low side is you have someone who is just seeing the pleasant options and all the wonderful possibilities, and sort of is like trying to avoid pain or boredom or anything that looks like it's going to be constraining me too much. It has, I mean, a lot of sort of, you know, brainstormers. Brainstormers tend to be 7s. They see this can be connected to that, and they tend to be, you know, fun of, you know, Robin Williams. I mean, if you look at the fun side of it,
you think he's a 7?
I would bet he's a 7. Someone, he's generating ideas all the time, and his mind is going, and he's like up. Yeah, I would guess he might be an example of a 7.
A very, very rapid fire.
Well, that's one of the beautiful
Type A 7.
Well, a lot of 7s are like that. Their
Really?
minds are always going.
Really?
Yeah.